Vitamin D is the flavor of the month. Now, it's always been important, but in COVID times, it's taken on a new level of significance. People who run into trouble with COVID frequently have low levels, and a few studies have suggested boosting levels improves outcome. A few. As the research trickles in, the results are not always as expected. Sometimes, well, it helps, and sometimes it doesn't. This phenomenon of sometimes doesn't only apply to COVID. It applies to pretty much everything vitamin D is thrown at, and it's thrown at lots of things. The reason vitamin D is a very important contributor to our health. It regulates the expression of more than 200 genes, and being vitamin D insufficient is extremely common. The reason the ultimate source of vitamin D is sun exposure. And being exposed to the sun, well, it's not as common as it used to be. Plus, low levels of vitamin D go hand in hand with metabolic imbalances, and being insulin resistant is frighteningly common. So, where does that leave you as a card carrying member of modern society with a verified vitamin D deficiency? Well, the long answer is you need to create the kind of lifestyle that fixes the bad body chemistry behind your insufficiency. That is, get some sun and lose some weight. If you need some help with the latter, download the Willpower Report. It's free. It will get you started. Yes, but I'm deficient now, and for obvious reasons, I can't wait. Well, then you probably will benefit from a supplement. But on the supplementing front, you have options. You can swallow a little every day as a pill, or you could get a mega dose in a jab from your healthcare provider every now and again. Join us as we take a deep dive into vitamin D supplementation, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to make sure that you're doing it right. Better Body Chemistry TV is brought to you by Dr. Sandy, a scientist turned gremlin buster, helping you battle sugar gremlins, heifer lumps, and other health horribles through better body chemistry. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health. Now, many people opt for option number 2. Health. It's so much easier. Granted, it's not painless, but it is a case of set it and forget it. And it's how we do things. Of course, even for the uninitiated, at first glance, it's very unnatural, but it's not unprecedented. Loading up on vitamins is a strategy. It's done for vitamin B12 and iron. In fact, in both these cases, it's often seen as superior because both these nutrients have absorption issues. The reason it works, well, is the body stores these vitamins. So the megadose allows the stores to be quickly repleted. And once the store is topped up, the body can then dive into these abundant stores to meet its needs. It's assumed that vitamin D works the same way. The storage cupboard for vitamin D is traditionally seen as fat cells, but there's a growing body of evidence that suggests this is not the real storage cupboard. The real storage cupboard is muscle. And this does have some interesting implications, which I've talked about elsewhere. But at the end of the day, details, schmetails, it's stored. So loading up the stores is the solution. Not so fast. This is what a group of British researchers concluded when they dived into the vitamin D literature, which in and of itself is a big undertaking. They said vitamin D is a hot topic. I wasn't joking. Our team focused on problems that have always been associated with vitamin D deficiency, rickets and TB. In the case of rickets, the vitamin D connection was noted in the 1920s, and a daily dose of cod liver oil was prescribed. It worked like a charm, but tasted awful. So there have been trials to switch out the oil and replace it with shots. They found a couple of trials, all using slightly different regimens. Here are the results from a well-conducted study in 3,046 children, using shots of 100,000 international units of vitamin D every 3 months for 18 months. You can see it didn't work. Ah. Next, they scanned the TB literature to find a similar story. It works when given in low doses on a regular basis, but the benefit seems to be lost when high doses are given intermittently. The phenomenon also showed up when vitamin D was used to prevent acute respiratory tract infections. Low dose maintenance supplementation is effective, but intermittent high dose, not so much. So, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, well, it is a duck, or should I say a dud. Injecting megadoses of vitamin D into someone every so often does not do the trick. In fact, our team unpacked the data further and they actually found evidence to suggest the practice could be counterproductive, that is, harmful. It's biology. Now, when we talk about vitamin D, we talk about it as if it's one single chemical. It's not. There's the vitamin D we make, the vitamin D that circulates, and the vitamin D that does the magic. Now, it's the last one that really matters. And to do magic, vitamin D must enter cells and hook up with the vitamin D receptor. He must get inside the cell. Now, what makes this situation even more tricky is vitamin D does not swim about in the blood. He usually rides in his custom-made chariot, the vitamin D binding protein, unless something happens to his wheels. To enter a cell, vitamin D must be wheelless. It's complicated. So let's try get it all straight. We make calciferol or vitamin D3 from cholesterol with the help of sunlight. We store calcidiol, also known as 25-hydroxy vitamin D3. We usually supplement with this, although sometimes vitamin D2, ergocalcidiol, is used rather than vitamin D3. We measure how much 25-hydroxy vitamin D3 is circulating, but remember this is not what we use. We use 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D3, also known as calcitriol. And this only works when it gets inside cells because the receptor for vitamin D is located inside the nucleus. And to round things out, we make and throw away other metabolites of vitamin D. With so many moving parts, vitamin D levels are tightly regulated, and the workhorses in this process are the enzymes which are tasked with adding the hydroxyl groups. Now, the first hydroxyl group is added in position 25. It takes vitamin D3 from a provitamin to the real deal. The second hydroxyl is added at position 1 by an enzyme known as CYP27B1, and this makes it useful. The third hydroxyl is added at position 24 by an enzyme known as CYP24A, and this takes the vitamin D out of commission. Now, the last two enzymes, which effectively activate and deactivate vitamin D, ultimately control vitamin D levels, and they take their cue from a bone marrow hormone known as FGF23. The FGF stands for fibroblast growth factor, and its job is to control phosphorus levels. Now, this guy is not the big boss, but he is the enzyme's boss, and his expectation is the extreme bump in vitamin D levels is going to cause potentially catastrophically high phosphate levels because vitamin D facilitates intestinal phosphorus absorption. To avoid compromising bone health, he orders the two cytochromes around to take care of the vitamin D problem. The end result? The level of active vitamin D deep inside the cells plummets. Vitamin D stops working, genes are not turned on, and benefits don't accrue. But when you supplement with a little vitamin D every day, which is a far more natural scenario, FGF23 doesn't react. But if you give a megadose, he panics. And the trouble with his reaction, it's not fleeting. His panic attack lasts for several weeks. Here is the data from a study in 45 people who were given a single injection of 300,000 international units of ergocalciferol into their muscle. At the 3-month mark, FGF was still ordering vitamin D levels down. It's a case of vitamin D everywhere, but not a drop to drink. The current explanation for the failure of vitamin D clinical trials is that it only helps people who are really deficient, but it might also be creating a pseudo vitamin D deficiency. Aish, biology is complicated. The point is, if you're supplementing, supplement in a way that mimics nature. Take your vitamin D as a vitamin, not as a drug. This will help you create better body chemistry and better health. Interested in discovering more ways to create better body chemistry or need a little help getting your body chemistry on track? Visit our website at www.betterbodychemistry.com. Browse our library or sign up for a health conversation. The advice is simple to follow and based on real science, not hype. Know someone who is supplementing or considering supplementing with vitamin D? Share this video with them so they know how to supplement wisely. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you catch future episodes of Better Body Chemistry TV. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, small things can make a big difference.